Next comes a physics mesh. Obviously the physics mesh is the hitbox. Basically it simulates, you know, if you fire a bullet at this mesh here. If I'm using this in a first-person shooter, depending on how complicated your physics mesh is, it may pass through one of these grills, or it just may hit the thing. I'm actually going to do two versions of this prop. One with a very simple physics mesh, and the other one with a more complex physics mesh. But the other thing about physics mesh is that it affects the shadows. And I've never actually, well, first of all, let's go into the basics, how you make it. You choose your clip brush, like that, like so. You need the primitives. Just create a block here. Generally you want to make the physics mesh a little simpler than the visual geometry, because you want them to be simple. And I'm going to make it simpler still. 1 unit. Move it half a unit up. There. So this is a very simple physics mesh. I'm going to turn this guy into a funk brush. Apply. For its name, I'm going to name it the prop, and I'm just going to add HITBOX to the end of that. So that's the name of this brush here. Now I'm going to go to my proper, this is the model itself. The physics mesh here, I'm going to put the name of that funk brush I just made, okay. So this is the material. So it's going to, if you shoot at it, it's going to act like solid metal in terms of bullet holes and ricochets and that kind of thing. And that's going to be the hitbox. The last important thing is to make sure that the origin is the same. The location of the origin is important. So if I select, I've selected the model, and then if I select the hitbox, you'll notice that the origin is at the same location. See? And I can pinpoint that origin using the grid. If that origin was moved somehow, we'll move it here. Like this is the, actually I moved the origin of the model. The model's origin is here, but the hitbox's origin is there. What's going to happen is that hitbox will be rendered in this location at the same origin. And obviously that'll be off. So that's why you need to pay attention to the origin, making sure those origins align with 3D space. So this version 2, I'm going to make a more complicated hitbox. Here I'm going to open up these holes. So I'm going to choose solids. Grab all these displacements. I'm just going to duplicate them here. Go into here. Displacement. Destroy. That turns it back into ordinary geometry. I'm going to turn it into a clip. And then I'm going to use this as the basis. I'm going to simplify this. Get rid of some of these brushes. You want the smallest number of brushes possible when you're making a hitbox or the physics mesh. So I'll get rid of this. Okay. Get rid of this, and this. The fewer number of brushes, the less complex your physics mesh, the easier it is on the engine. Okay. So this, I believe, is the minimum number of brushes that I can get away with. Control T. Brush. This is going to be O2 hitbox. I'm going to replace this. Whoops, I got to add a piece there. So I want to do the same thing here. I will Control F to do that. There. Replace this. I'm just copying solids. Now, if I select objects, I have to add these brushes. Control T. I also want the thickness to be 1 unit. Here's solids. I'm doing solids because I don't want to move that origin. If I just move the solids, there's still a little bit of a hole there. Do this. So now I've made a hitbox here, physics mesh. It's more complex. This is just a slab, obviously, so it's more complex than that, but it's not as complex as the geometry. Let's check the origin. There's the origin of the hitbox. Yep, it's identical. Last thing is, I want this physics mesh to be there. Old 2 hitbox, right? And okay. So I've got 2 props ready to render. In this case, I've used the actual model as its hitbox. The physics mesh, I'm using the same geometry as the model itself here, just because this is an arch and it works. Anyway,